Hi friends, this is Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working on a free pattern by Mood Fabrics. Today I'm going to be sewing the Palm Jumpsuit. This is a woven fabric with an invisible zipper. Yeah, I'm a little nervous, but we're gonna do it together. And it seems like a very straightforward sew, so I'm super excited about it. Let's do it. All right, the first thing I would say is one of the things I have an issue with when I make a new pattern is the sizing. Even though I measure myself and I go by the measurements on the pattern, sometimes they don't fit quite right. They're a little too big on me, and I don't know why. I've measured myself a million times. Some pattern designers is good and some aren't. So what I recommend to do is there's two ways that you can figure out exact sizing to make it really nice to fit to you. One way is to go ahead and grab the pattern and measure all the pieces around the body, the front panels, the middle panel, the back panel, and measure them up, subtract seam allowance, and then measure yourself and see how much each has and if it works well. Sometimes I do that, not usually. What I usually do is I have all my bodice pieces and then I just attach them together and try it on and base the side before I move on to doing the lining, before I actually trim all my allowances, before I steam all my allowances, before I do all that other work. So I just kind of baste it all together, try it on, see how it fits, and move on. You can do this with scrap fabric, or I'm just doing it with the same fabric I'm using because I feel like it's gonna be, if it doesn't fit, it's gonna be larger. I don't think it's gonna be too small. If you're worried about it being too small, then I would use another fabric first and then come back and do it with your actual fabric. So other than the scary zipper, this sew seems pretty straightforward. It's got, let me show you what it's got. It's got the side panels, and you cut 4 of them because you have one on each side, and then you have a lining piece. So you have a front outside outer bodice, and then a lining bodice. And then you've got your center front. You also need 2 of those because you have for the front, for the lining, and for the outer. And then you've got 2 of the back for the front and 2 of the back for the liner. So you need 4 of these as well. So that's what I'm talking about. And then you also have your bottoms, front and back. You've got your straps, the 2 straps. You've got your belt, and you've got your cuffs, because at the bottom of the pants they add like a cuff area, which is really cute. Okay, but what I was talking about is how we're gonna get started is I'm going to go ahead and just sew my front and my backs together and try it on and see what it looks like before I move on. Now, it's gonna be kind of hard to see because this fabric, it looks the same on the right side or the wrong side. So I'm gonna try to make sure that I mention which one is the right side, which one's the wrong side, and also lining and outer, because for me, the lining and outer will be exactly the same. But if you're doing a lining on an outer, you need to make sure that the lining is obviously on the inside and the outer is on the outside. So I'm gonna grab this center piece here. And as you can see, I marked the notches of where it's gonna line up with your bodice here. This has got the notches here as well. And we're gonna grab our bodice pieces and we're gonna face them right sides together here on the outer edge. So the right sides together to create those side pieces. Now, my fabric looks wrinkled, but I will say whenever I cut my fabric, I made sure I ironed it first. It's just wrinkled because I cut this fabric a couple of days ago, and then I like stacked them, the pieces over on my sewing table over there, and they got wrinkled as they were like sitting there all bunched up. But I will recommend that you iron your fabrics before you cut them up, especially linen, because it gets really wrinkly if it's like kind of all bent up, and then it won't cut right. It will be maybe too big or maybe too small. So you want to make sure that you steam your fabrics before you cut them up. I'm doing the same on the other side, right sides together. I'm going to, like I said, sew this together, like baste it first, and then I will like reinforce it. But I want to make sure that it looks good. I may go ahead and set up my serger. I either will, if you can do a straight stitch on your sewing machine first and then finish off the inside. with our lining or pieces that get lined, you don't have to finish them off. You can do pink and shears or whatever, or you can just do a little bit of trim. For my bottoms, since the seams will be exposed on the inside, I want to finish off the sides, so I either can do a straight stitch and then either a zigzag stitch on the seam allowance, or you can go to your serger and serge off the edge. I also have on my my serger, my Baby Lock Accolade has a stitch that's called a chain stitch, and so what it does is does the straight stitch and then finishes off the raw edge, so it does it all at once for you. So that's really cool. If you have that, you can do that as well. So once that's sewn, this will be our front bodice here. Obviously we still need to do the darts, which I haven't done yet, which I will do. But as you can see, like already I feel like it's going to fit, because when I put this over myself, I see these lines here, which are like the princess seams kind of darts here, the lines where I sew. You want this to go right through your apex, so it's nice and centered. So that's kind of what I want to look at. So I'm kind of excited about that. So then for the back, we've got the two pieces here. So they go like this. So the short side, right sides together, is where you want to sew that up. And then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to sew up the front and the back right sides together. So the right side, make sure it's facing the correct way, is going to match up. And I'm only going to sew up the wearer's right. That's the only side I'm going to sew up, because the wearer's left is where I'm going to attach that zipper later. Also, when I try it on, I'm just going to pin that side while I try it on and make sure that it all fits. Now, the reason why I'm just like hastily sewing this up is again because I'm just basting it. But when we do it when we do it for real, like you want to make sure that you take your time and it looks nice and smooth and everything like that. And then you steam every seam as well. All right, friends, I was right. It is a little bit bigger than I need it to be. So the front, it fits okay, but it could be a little bit farther in, because once I attach it to the sides, I feel like these lines are going to be kind of farther out. So this needs to be a little bit tighter. And then obviously, if you see here at the back, there's a lot going on here, which I know I don't want this to be super fitted, but it will have a zipper. So I do want it to be a little bit more fitted. So I think I'm going to go ahead and trim my fabric down. I was concerned when I measured myself. The reason why I thought it was going to be too big is because I did end up in the chart to be like 2 sizes higher than I usually wear. So I thought, but I wanted to go ahead and give it a try, because you know, some patterns, and you all know it all is different. So I'm like, okay. But it does seem like I'm going to have to trim it down a little bit here on the sides. And then here, so I'm gonna cut out all my bodices. I'm gonna go down the 2 sizes like I thought I was gonna have to, which on this pattern, it actually goes like each line is 2 sizes. So it's really only 1 size that I'm cutting it down to. But I hopefully think that that should be enough, because I do want some wiggle room. I don't want it to be super tight to my body, because I do want to wear something underneath it. There's also the lining fabric, because you do a lining and an outer. So I'm gonna go down 1 size, and hopefully that should bring me in just to be a really good, I just have it tacked to my top right now, so that's how it's sitting. And I think other than that, it fits really well here. There's a little bit of ease. It's just a little bit too much ease. But I think if I bring it down a size. So this is what I'm talking about, that I like to go ahead and try it on first to make sure that I got my sizing correct before I move on and sew it all up and do the darts and do everything, and then it's like, it's too big, or it's too small. So I'm gonna leave the bottoms the same size, because I am a size bigger on my bottoms than I am on my bodice. So I think it's gonna even out and look good. If not, then I'll take in a little bit at the bottom if I need to, but I think it's gonna be good. So let's keep going. All right, now that we've got it all figured out, we can really get started. I trimmed off everything, and we're going to start by doing our darts. Where did I lift my pattern piece? All right, now that we've got it all figured out, we can get started. I already trimmed all the pattern pieces, and we're gonna start by doing that dart. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and cut out my dart placement I'm gonna look and see which one's my dart. All right, so once I've cut out that piece, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my bodice. And I'm gonna do this on the wrong side of the bodice. I'm gonna place my pattern piece right over and mark my fabric with a water-soluble marker. Well, this is a heat. As soon as I put heat onto it, it disappears. So it's like a heat vanishing. Not really sure what it's called, like a heat something or other. Friction light. Okay, so then once I've marked that, what I like to do is I like to grab a pin and I go in from the bottom and come out on the, going from the bottom line and come out to the top line. And then I fold and then I go in later in the top line and come out in the bottom line. So it kind of marks with a pin where I'm supposed to be going. So I do the same a little bit farther down and make sure that I'm coming out of the line. And it's probably hard to see my green line, but I can see it. And so I'm gonna follow that line. I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine and start stitching all the way down. And as I get closer to the exit point here, I'm gonna take my stitch to like a 1.8 and then come all the way out. And when I come all the way out, I'm not going to back stitch because I'm gonna tie a little knot for it at the end. And I'm gonna do that for all my bodice side pieces. So like all 4 of them. All right, so what I did with my bodices, I tied little knots here at the end of my dart, just like light little knots, and then I'm gonna cut the rest of the thread. And then I gave it a good steam back and forth to make those really nice and even. So like I steamed them back and forth on the wrong side, and then on the right side, I went ahead and made sure I steamed it flat so it looks really nice and sharp right there. Okay, now again, I'm gonna do this with the outer, but we're gonna also do the same thing with the liner. So I'm gonna show you with my outer. I've got my 2 side pieces here, and then I'm gonna grab my middle piece and I'm gonna match it like we talked about, right sides together here on the outer edge. When I sew this, I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and back stitch at the end. All right, so let's go sew that up. While I'm at it, I'm also going to grab my back pieces and I'm gonna sew up that side seam. So, I mean that back seam, so that those 2 pieces are facing right side up here, and then we're just gonna face them right sides together and sew that short back seam. Actually, that's... Did you see that? It was like upside down. You need to make sure that it's right side up. Let's see, that's the right side. So going up and right sides together. Okay, what in the world was I doing? Good thing I caught that before I sewed it up, because usually I catch it after I already sewed it up. All right, once I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and pin it now and do it at the same time. But if you want to go sew this, come back and then do this part, you can. If you try this on, the wearer's left side, this is my wearer's left side over here. So this right side we're going to sew closed. The left side we're going to leave open because we're going to put in that zipper later. But the right side needs to be closed off here. Let's go do that again. Liner and outer and liner, whichever is your outer or whichever is your liner. When I'm doing that, I'm also going to go ahead and look at my straps here, and I'm going to get those prepared because that will be my next step to sew the straps on. So I'm gonna grab my strap and I'm gonna fold it right sides together and sew like a tube. I'm gonna sew that raw edge here, the long raw edge. Remember, you're back stitching every time. gonna use a loop turner to turn my my strap all the way around. And I'm gonna go over to my iron and steam these flats and then steam open all the seams on my bodice. Just open them up and give them a good steam. Alrighty, now that that's done, we're gonna grab our bodices front here. I'm gonna add my straps. So I'm gonna tack on that strap right there at that seam. You can go ahead and baste it on if you want. I'm just pinning it on the inside. I think it should be good. Then I'm gonna grab the front bodice. All right, so I went to go ahead and sew them up and I realized that I didn't think about this thoroughly. Because the lining and the outer face each other, right sides together, I need to attach the side, the back on the right side. That way, when we attach them together, both sides will be on the same side, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and remove one side and attach this other side, so that way they face right sides all the same. So that way I can go ahead and sew up all around the whole thing to be able to leave that area here where we're gonna attach that zipper. All right, now that we've got that opening on the left side on the outer and on the right side on the liner, because the liner, it's going to be, the right side of the liner is going to be facing your body. So the wrong side of the liner is gonna match the wrong side of the outer. So it still will have that side, the left side open. Okay, so now I'm gonna match up right sides together. Here, the outer and the liner. And those straps are gonna get tacked in there. You're gonna sew all the way around. All right, so I'm gonna sew all the way up top. I'm actually going to leave the side open because that's where I'm gonna attach my zipper. You could baste that together for now, that's fine. But I'm gonna sew up and over, tacking those straps and down. Now, for the back, we have to add the straps to the back as well. So what I'm going to do is, I can go ahead and pin the straps now on the back. So this is my side of my back, so I want to make sure that they line up. So here's my straps, and the right side is going to touch the right side of the bodice. So this is the right side of the bodice, of the front bodice. So I have my markings here of my straps, and I'm going to match up the markings of my straps. Only thing I don't always love to attach my straps right away, because I want to make sure that they fit. So before I cut anything, before I trim any allowances or anything, I want to make sure that they're like the straps fit, everything fits. So I'm gonna go sew it on and then try it on, and then I'll go ahead and trim everything and make sure that everything looks good before I finish up the final product. So here is my straps are on my markings, and so then I can go ahead and also sew up the lining to it. And I'm gonna be sewing up all the straps to it. And I'm not sewing the sides, like I said, I'm leaving those sides open because the left side is where I'm gonna attach the zipper, and then the other side I can go ahead and sew it up in a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew all the way around. The sides, we don't sew those sides that are open because the right side is already sewn shut, so we don't have to sew that. So we're just gonna sew all the way around the top of the bodice, catching those straps. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and sew it, and then I'm gonna try it on to make sure that my straps fit nicely. I don't want my straps to be like super long and then it droops too much, or super short and then it's too high up. So I just kind of want to try it on first. Make sure all your seams are lined up. All right, so I sewed all the way around the top, and now I'm going to turn it right side out, and I'm gonna try it on. Make sure my straps are nice and even and not crooked. And then I probably will put on my undershirt, but try it on just like this before I give it a good steam, and make sure that everything looks nice and even. Like I said, I should probably try it on with just my undershirt, but
I mean, I may wear a loose fitting top underneath it. Can't even see what I'm doing. I should be doing this in front of a mirror. Try it on. Make sure it looks good. Make sure my straps are where I want them. See, like I think I want my straps a little bit higher so this fits where it's supposed to fit. Because on the back, it goes lower. So I think I need my straps to be a little bit higher. So just trimmed a little bit so that there is, so on this bodice, there is a curve here at the bust. So you want that curve to fit right where it's supposed to, which means that the bodice will go right here, which means that I need to take the straps in a little bit. And you know, I just realized I did not trim my strap pattern piece. So maybe that's part of it. And honestly, I kind of would even like it better if I did either like a bow tie here at the top or something. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna just kind of tack it however much I think I'm gonna have to take off and just pull that much off at the back and re-sew that. All right, we're gonna start with the pants and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start by doing our darts. Just like we did our bodice darts, we'll do our pants darts. We're gonna do them on the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm gonna cut out my dart point. Since I'm doing it on the wrong side, I'm gonna mark this piece first. That's the wrong side of that one. Here where it kind of opens up that way, I'm gonna make a little sideways mark so I know that I'm going in here and then turning down towards the dart. All right, so there's my dart on that side, and then I gotta mark the wrong side of this one. And I'm gonna do that for both legs. For both legs and the front and the back, because they both have darts. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing I did with my bodice where I used my pins to kind of follow along that line. All right, let's go sew those darts up. All right, now that we've got that finished, we're gonna grab both of our fronts. And I marked both of my fronts with a little clip. We're gonna do the same for the backs, but and then we're gonna match them right sides together. And how you know if it's the front or the back is the crotch seam will match. So the front crotch seams, obviously the two pieces will match. If you put a back and a front together, the crotch seam will not match and you'll be like, what is going on here? So make sure that that's even. So I'm gonna grab the front and match up that crotch seam and sew that up. Then I'm gonna do the same on the back, right sides together. I'm gonna sew that with a straight stitch, and then I'm gonna go behind it and do a serger stitch to finish off the edge. You could do that, or you could do a zigzag stitch at the edge. All right, now we're gonna grab our front and our back. So you can see this is my front pant and this is my back, and we're gonna match them right sides together. And I'm going to sew the side seams and the inseam. So we're just literally, it's gonna be kind of hard to see because they're big pants. So we're gonna match up right here, our side, all the way down. And then after I match up that side, then I'm gonna match here at the crotch at this area and go all the way down both sides and sew the sides and then the bottom. If you wanted to add side pockets, this is where you would add those in, but I'm not doing side pockets and it doesn't. This pattern does not come with side pockets. I do think I have a video on here on how to add side pockets. If I don't, I will add that soon. All right, while I'm here, I'm also going to grab my cuffs and sew those up right sides together. So I'm gonna grab one back and one front and sew the side seams, and then I'll grab the other one and do the same. I wasn't able to cut my strap on the fold, so I'm gonna sew it together here, and then we will later on fold it to create that strap, just like we did, to get that band, just like we did the straps. All right, one thing I forgot to mention is to leave a space opening on the side of your pant to add your zipper. And I just sewed both sides, but it's okay, I can unpick it. But I just wanted to mention that. When we're gonna grab our bodice here, what I wanna do is, so I know, I don't think the pattern tells you how long of a zipper to get. So when I open that up, I'm going to use my zipper. I think this is a, let me see, 14-inch zipper. I'm gonna measure, and then I'm gonna that's how much I'm gonna open. You can open more because you can always close it up when you're done with your zipper, so that's fine. And so we sewed this up. So the first thing I'm gonna do is work on the bottom cuff. So we're gonna grab our bottom of our pant, and we're gonna find our cuff, and the front face up. So the front of our cuff, obviously it's gonna go with the front of our pant, and we're gonna just match it here at the bottom. Just make sure it's facing the right side up. I'm just gonna fit it right in and match it. They just wanna have, I guess they just wanna have a cuff. So we're just adding a cuff. We match it, and we're just gonna sew it right sides together and do the same for both. And then we'll just have to hem the bottom of the cuff when we get done. I always like to try like the pants on first and see how wide of a cuff I want to make. I mean, how wide of a hem I want to make. If I want to make an inch hem, that's not an inch, it's like 3-inch hem, or whatever you want to do. You can figure that however you want to do it. And then while I'm doing that, I'm also going to work on my strap, my band, my waistband, or whatever, my strap that I'm using. I'm going to fold it right sides together, and I'm gonna sew the ends and then sew all the way down, leaving a gap somewhere in the middle where I'm gonna flip it all the way right side out. So I'm gonna go ahead and go sew that. Then we're gonna come back and sew our zipper on, sew our bodice to our, actually we can go ahead and do that now. I can go ahead and do that now. First, I'm going to, where did I put my seam ripper? I'm gonna seam rip that side because, like I said, I sewed it up too much. So that way we can sew them together. Remember, you wanna seam rip the side that, or not seam rip, you hopefully won't have to seam rip. Hopefully you left it open. And I will add a disclaimer in my video, like telling you to leave it open. So now that we've got that finished, I'm gonna mark my center half of my bodice. That way I can match that up with the center half of my pants. And I wanna match right sides together. We're gonna fit our pants into our bodice, right sides together. So I'm gonna match up that center point here. And then go out to the side. Make sure you're matching all your points. And then I'm gonna go sew that on and sew the strap, and then the cuffs. And then we'll come back, the pant cuff, and then we'll come back to sew the zipper on. I'm excited and scared at the same time.
All right, I'm gonna go sew all this up, and I could try this on first before I sew it all up, because the pants are a little bit oversized, but I think I'm just gonna go for it because I am a daredevil, and just kind of, let's cross our fingers that it all fits. I think it's gonna look cute, but just never know until it's done. Almost there. While I'm here, I'm also going to use my serger to finish off the edges of my side seam where my zipper is gonna go. I want that to be finished off.
I'm gonna finish off also the bottom of the cuff so that it's nice and finished for when I
All right, so ignore the fact that my sewing area is a mess. But I wanted to try this on. It's not finished. I have not added the zipper yet. As you can see, it's just tacked, it's just clipped on. I have not even turned the tie yet. It's still, it's not right, but I just wanted to try it on. First of all, I'm noticing that it's very, very long. Like, I like a long pant, and I am tall, I'm 5'7", but this is extra long, and I am wearing wedges. So definitely going to be probably folding that cuff over and using that as the hem, or trimming it a lot. Like, I probably would like maybe a couple of inches of the cuff, but the cuff is probably like 5 inches or so. It's bigger than that. But other than that, I think it's looking really cute. What do y'all think? I think it's coming along. Yes, the pants are loose, so you make sure you want to use a fabric that's very drapey so it fits really nicely. But I'm liking it, and I think the bodice is super cute too, to do the dress version. So what do y'all think? All right, I'm going to trim the legs. I'm going to attach the zipper, fix the tie, and then we'll be done with this cute sew. And I'm just wearing it right now with nothing, but obviously you could wear it with something underneath as well.
All right, so on the strap, all we gotta do is find that area we left open and flip it. Actually, first I'm gonna trim the corners so that they flip nicely. And then I'm gonna find the area I left open and flip it. Okay, and then you can go ahead and either top stitch the whole thing or just top stitch that area, that gap. Just go over there and give it a top stitch and steam it, and our strap is ready, or well, our band. So now we go to our zipper. Okay, zippers are easy, they're just a little scary. So I'm gonna grab my zipper, and the good thing about invisible zippers is that you basically are attaching them right sides together. So like the right side of the opposite side is gonna be attached to this side, and then you're gonna flip it over and attach the other side to the other side, right? So I'm gonna start with this side. That's just easier for me. And I'm going to align my zipper. And well, you know what, pins are better because then when I sew it. And then when I sew it with my zipper foot, you wanna come as close to this edge as you can. I'm just pinning it to right sides together, so the right side of my invisible zipper is touching the right side of my bodice. And we're gonna sew up this side first. I'm gonna go a little bit farther than the stopper here. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew that with a zipper foot. All right, so one side is done. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably turn it inside out to do the other side. Might make it easier because we're going to essentially just lay it on top on the other side to create that other side. Now, the hardest part about getting a zipper is getting it lined up correctly. So what I like to do sometimes is go ahead and baste it on first. So like sew it with like a long straight stitch, baste it on first, or you can use like hem tape or something like that to get it on first so it's nice and even. You want all of your seams to be even here. See those seams right there when you're attaching your zipper. So you want to make sure it's all even in. But we're attaching it right side, the other side, right sides together with the other side of your bodice. And just exactly the same way that we just attached the one side. Now here at the top, if you look, it's kind of just hanging out right now. what I like to do is just flip it over the zipper and top stitch it down. So I will top stitch that zipper kind of flipped over like that once I'm done, and I'll do the same on the other side, top stitch that down. To sew it up, I usually like to open up the zipper, that way it's out of the way. Probably should have opened it before I pinned it, because now the pins are in the way. At the end of the zipper, I'm just going to stitch this down, and usually you would have the two openings here because I see how it's open here, right there. I'm just gonna stitch that down to stop the zipper there. And then we'll just hem the bottom of our pants and we'll be done.
All right, friends, I am done with this jumpsuit. I think it turned out super cute. I love it very much. And I'm so excited to be turning because I like it, and I'm gonna be turning it into a dress. I'm excited for that as well. I think it turned out really cute. What do you think? I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Go check out my other videos. Go grab your free pattern, come back and sew it up with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye. From the crickets too, they're saying goodbye.